It's time to preview the Saturday college football slate here on the field of 12, and we've got a great slate for you. If you've not looked at the games coming up this weekend, might I say this is the best slate of the conference season thus far, because there are national championship contenders that have huge, huge games this weekend that could swing their entire season. I'm talking Alabama. I'm talking Tennessee. I'm talking Georgia. I'm talking Clemson. And we're going to break down all of those games tonight. I'm Greg Waddell. I'm joined by Darien Rencher, by Christian Hackenberg. D-Wrench, how you doing? I mentioned your team. Your team's in there right now. You got to be feeling good that they're going to mention.
We're in there. I was nervous on Twitter because I was like, I thought they're going to snub us. But when you've been in the college football system, you kind of know that usually they rank teams higher just for ratings. So I would have thought they'd have put Michigan higher than us personally, because Michigan and Ohio State are going to play each other. Same way they did with Georgia and Tennessee, because now that's a top two matchup in the country, which it is. I think both those teams do deserve that. But being in college football, you kind of see how the early rankings play more into like building up the regular season games. So I was shocked personally that we got in. I really was. Now in the end, I feel like it's all going to shake out. Clemson's going to be number 4. But personally, I thought they're going to put Michigan ahead of us and maybe TCU just to add a little spice. But look, Clemson sitting number 4. Let's keep rolling, baby.
Yeah, you can't complain. And we'll talk more about that. We're going to open the show tonight with some in-depth discussion on who should have been number 4 and if we're happy with the rankings in general. Hack, you look great as always. There's a big Philadelphia baseball game going on tonight, and apparently you're not really swung one way or the other on that. Can we get an official statement from you on that?
Yeah, no, I could care less. I just happen to be in the Philadelphia market. That's where I live, so I have to deal with Philly fanatics at every turn, and one of them happens to be our producer, and I'm a little bit ahead of him right now, so I just continually fuck with him this entire time we've been on here prepping for this show. So that's probably been the most enjoyment I've had watching the Phillies so far during this World Series.
It's been great entertainment. I only caught about 5 minutes of it before the show, but if you need a reason to stick around, not that you should need a reason, producer Dagan's going to come on at the end of the show, give his picks, and it's highly likely we could be in a 9th inning situation by the time that rolls around. So stay tuned. There could be high drama here on the field of 12. As always, you can listen to us on the Sirius XM app. We are powered by the good folks at Bet Rivers. If you want to get some merch, by the way, I know college basketball season is coming up. We're going to the Champions Classic to do live shows from Indianapolis to kick off the season. You can get some Field of 68 merch or merch for your favorite team at fieldof68.shop. And if you're watching us as well on the YouTube channel, thanks for being there. Click subscribe while you're there. Let's jump right in. I teased all the big games that we're going to get to later in the show. But first, I feel like we have to break down the college football playoff rankings. We've done a lot of that this week on this program, but none of the three of us have been here to give our side of the story. So, Darien, we got to throw it to you first. You sort of teased where your head was at in general, but I think a lot of people were surprised to see your Clemson Tigers man that 4th spot. I've heard people complain that Michigan wasn't at 4. I've heard people complain that TCU wasn't at 4. So just throwing it to you, how surprised were you to see Clemson's name pop up at 4?
I wasn't surprised because of the reality of it. I was more so surprised because of the politics of it. And that's why I'm saying I thought personally they would put Michigan at 4 to build up towards that last game, because then Ohio State and Michigan are both in the top 4. And that last game of the season, that rivalry game, is like a top 4 matchup. So I would think they would kind of ride that wave as long as possible. Obviously, Georgia and Tennessee deserve to be in the top 4. But even that game is going to be a top 3 matchup, top 2 matchup. So I was just surprised they put us in there because, for that reason. But the reality of it, Clemson's one of the only teams that has 3 top 25 wins. Now, where those teams are now, maybe it look different. But at the time, going to those matchups, they've beaten 3 top 25 teams. I feel like the argument against Clemson is the dominance piece. Like, we have won big games. Have we dominated the season? I wouldn't say that. And so that's my only knock on my Tigers. And I would say Michigan has dominated a lot of games. Ohio State has dominated some teams. Every team has had that little hiccup. But I feel that's the only knock on Clemson. But I think they deserve to be at 4. It's not the craziest thing. Now, TCU, for TCU to make that jump, they got to go just demolish somebody these next couple weeks. Because their program, it's not really their team, it's their program is taking a hit. But that TCU Horned Frog isn't bigger logo than the Crimson Tide, the Michigan, Clemson. So that's kind of where they're at right now. But they can go dominate and win the Big 12. I feel like that they'll have some real reasons to be in that top 4 coming in the season. So I feel like I'm good with it right now. I really am. Then obviously you guys know, look, after this weekend, somebody's going to drop out the top 4. If between Georgia and Tennessee, somebody's going to have to get bumped up. And so it'll sort itself out.
Hack, who should have been 4?
Yeah, well, I'm going to touch on that, D, because you bring in a lot of different things with your analysis there. You talk about politics, you talk about logos, you talk about, I think some of the stuff that you were bringing in was history. Like Clemson has a history of being in this world. They made it to the playoff. Them and Ohio State are the only 2 programs to win it outside of the SEC. And I think the last 10 years.
Right.
So, my thing is, and I would consider myself a purist, I firmly believe that all that bullshit should be left at the front door. And if you're coming here and you're talking about playoffs and college football playoffs, the 4 best teams should be the 4 best teams. And obviously it's really hard to pinpoint that when you have a committee making that decision. There's people who have different points that they would like to bring up. Some people may lean heavier on the fact that Clemson has 3 top 25 wins. To me, when you turn on the tape, Clemson is not a top 4 team consistently when you turn on the tape. I think Michigan deserves that. I think you could argue that Alabama, even though they've had some struggles, is a better product consistently than Clemson right now. However, I'm also not one to take away from the fact that if a team's undefeated, I just don't understand how TCU, who I could also argue has probably one of the strongest stretches of wins going. I think they beat Oklahoma, a then ranked Kansas State, and then Oklahoma State in a row.
Right. They had a stretch.
And they came kind of out of nowhere. And obviously, again, you're sitting there and you're looking at those, like those are good quality wins. So I guess to kind of put a bow on it, I think that it's very, very early. There's still a lot of games that are going to hash all this out. But to me, when these rankings come out, I want to be the football purist. I want the 4 best teams. And to me, they got 3 of them. And there's no knock in the Clemson Tigers. I just think, they control their own destiny at this point in time, and they're going to put it in someone else's hands. But when you turn on the tape, I just don't think that they're a top 4 football team this year.
So I want to dig a little deeper into TCU if we're going to isolate some teams here. Because to, I guess, broaden it and then bring it back to TCU, I feel like what I've heard as far as reasoning on why Clemson did arrive at number 4 over Michigan. To me, it was between those 2. No offense to TCU, no offense to Alabama. I would have been shocked if one of those 2 teams was at the 4th spot this week right now. I don't have a major problem with Clemson being 4. But I certainly would like to understand what the reasoning behind it is. And from what I've heard the most, it's strength of schedule. It's, well, Michigan didn't play anybody, right? So to apply that a little bit to TCU, I guess, because the Big 12 is top to bottom. There aren't really
loaded
too many cupcakes, right? Like every team you're going to play in that conference is a capable team of winning a football game against a good football team. But if you go through those ranked wins that you mentioned, Hack, how much does the fact that every quarterback they've played got hurt in the middle of those games matter? Does that even apply to the committee's rationale here? Because TCU scheduled the rest of the way. They don't play a ranked team. So they might get through this unscathed, but I do feel like there are some pretty clear, well, are we really going to ignore that Dylan Gabriel was out and then Jalen Daniels was out and then Adrian Martinez was out in that run? How much does that matter to you, Hack?
I mean, yeah, I think it can matter, but like I said, when I just don't deal in that world when I'm watching it. When I watch this team, I'm not going to make the argument that a TCU team deserves to be a top 4 team, because I don't think that they are a complete football team from that standpoint. I think you put them against Bama at a neutral site, against Michigan at a neutral site. I don't think they win those games. And I don't even think it's close, probably. My bigger point of contention was with, again, Clemson being 4. And I just think that I don't think they would have put 2 Big Ten teams and 2 SEC teams in the top 4. And then again, people say Clemson has a strength of schedule win. To me, their only quality win's a really good Wake Forest team. Like at this point in time, like when I look at it, to me, that's what it is. Cause I think the ACC top to bottom is not what people thought it would be heading into this season. And they haven't won it as impressively as they have in the past to justify why people were so high on that team. Right. So I think there's some historical bias there. I think their front seven's fantastic on defense. I've actually been pretty impressed with the way DJ played up until the last game.
Yeah.
And I just think that there's other holes there that they don't have things that they've had in the past. The wide receiver position being as dynamic as it is traditionally been. They don't really have guys that are consistently separating. I think the defensive backfield, young, a little bit inexperienced, making mistakes when you're facing a team like Ohio State who can score 28 points in 5 minutes. There's just gaps in that team. The TCU team, again, like I said, if they run the table, they'll control their own destiny and they're going to put it in someone else's hands to have to make the decision. But that's why I said I really want to know what the College Football Playoff Committee's criteria is. Is it the best 4 teams? Because the best 4 teams may not be necessarily an undefeated team, right? And do you have the balls to make that decision? And that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like I want the best 4 teams, and I think that's hard to decide because again we've hit the point. There's a lot of different variables.
There's a lot of nuances and factors that go into it, and that's why I'm a proponent of expansion, just because it'll give a lot of these things, like, because in the day there ain't more than 12 good teams, and it'll be interesting to see how they even come up with 12, because I feel like the last.
Hey, here's the thing.
Besides
after 8, it's like
it's like
there could be a 3-loss team in there,
bro. You look at 8. You look at the disparity between 8 in the top 4 right now. Like, just thinking about the fact that Georgia, and this is going to be, to me, this is Oregon's biggest knock. They cannot go too high this year because of that. They got smoked the first game of the season. Was it 49 to whatever by Georgia? And so that they're ranked number 8, and they're a good football team. So to me, I'm a fan of expansion because it'll give some leeway to some of these topics. I guess 12 teams is kind of what people leaning towards, but I guess I don't really disagree with anything you're saying. I'm a Clemson guy. And that's kind of been my only knock on Clemson this year, is we haven't played 4 dominant quarters to where we won good games. DJ stepped up. To me, we've answered a lot of questions from last year. Can we score points? Yes. We've struggled on defense in a lot of big games, which has given our offense a time to really gain some confidence. So I do like that, how that's kind of played out for us. And so, yeah, I think, man, TCU, to me, it's not too many teams or programs that can come out the blue unless you're out of the SEC, like the LSU team from 2019. Even though they weren't like consistently in that top ranking, it's like LSU as a program is a powerhouse. So when they finally turned it on, and then they beat every team in the SEC, so that they kind of had that. To me, TCU, unless they have dominated some people, but unless they're just dominating, like they gotta win by like large margins of victory. If it's close games, sadly their program just won't be able to make that move over a 1-loss or undefeated team, even if they're undefeated. Even if they win the Big 12 championship, I can't see them getting in. Here's some conversations. Let's talk about this before we get into more stuff. I want to hear y'all's takes on this. Couple different scenarios here in the SEC, and y'all tell me, just if you're the committee, what you do. Right? I don't know if we're gonna get to this, but I was thinking.
I know where we're going here.
All right.
I love it.
Okay, look. So right now, Georgia and Tennessee both undefeated, and so Georgia and Tennessee on the same side. So most likely, unless somebody lays an egg, whoever wins this game will face, most likely, unless Ole Miss comes and beats Bama, which would be crazy.
Bama's got LSU.
They do
number 10 ranked LSU this weekend,
right. Look,
that's fucking absurd, by the way. I'm just going to throw that out there. Bumping LSU to 10.
The ranking?
Yeah. Out of nowhere, dude.
That Loki is crazy.
Out of nowhere.
6-2.
You beat a dog shit Ole Miss team, and then fuck it, they're back. Right, they're right here.
It was a dog shit Ole Miss team that was top 10 last week, though. And like, it's to your guys' point. To your guys' point, there's only 8 good teams. Somebody's got to be 10, right?
I know there are a lot of 2 loss. Yeah, you're right. I'm looking down. I think LSU, the brand, it fits. It fits. All right, let's leave them there. here's the scenario is, okay, Tennessee and Georgia on the same side, right? Whoever wins this game, in my book, if I'm betting money, whoever wins this game is going to play in the SEC championship against, most likely, Bryce Young's back, against Bama. If whoever team loses this game, most likely is going to finish the season 11-1. And if it's a close game, they arguably are still one of the top 4 teams in the country. If Tennessee goes and beats Bama, which I can't see them beating Bama twice. I just can't. That's kind of like how Georgia, I just can't see them a team that good getting beat twice. Now, if Tennessee can go beat Alabama twice, bro, oh my Lord. Like that, Tennessee, the football gods on your side.
Well, it's their year.
Other scenario, Tennessee loses, Georgia goes and loses to Bama. Does a one-loss Tennessee get in since they already beat Bama? There's a couple scenarios here that kind of really.
I don't think Tennessee gets in at that point because they all got 1 losses, and if you're going to go on historicals, you're just going to take the SEC championship rematch like you did last year, which is a shame, but that's what it's going to be.
Right, but then the only thing is, if Georgia wins, I guess if Georgia beats Tennessee, then wins the SEC championship, Tennessee has a chance because that would be a 2-loss Bama. But the craziest part will be if they all end up with 1 loss. Like Georgia loses an SEC championship, Bama wins the SEC championship, Tennessee has 1 loss.
Yeah.
Now that to me will be crazy. And I just don't know what you do because, like, to me, if Tennessee loses to say they're not a top 4 team this year with that brand logo, I'm just like.
Well, to me, there's a lot that plays into that too. Like if you have an undefeated, because you're gonna have 1 undefeated out of the Big Ten, obviously, and that's gonna be the next at large. But then if you have an undefeated Clemson and undefeated TCU, you know, hey, maybe that plays into it. Or a 1-loss Oregon who only lost to Georgia the first game of the year, who wins the Pac-12. If you're going to take another 1-loss team, if say TCU slips up here, I just think that there's a lot of different things that play outside of it. But realistically speaking, there's going to be 2 teams from the SEC that makes it. That's kind of where I'm at too. The more fucked up thing would be if Tennessee did have to go in there and beat Alabama twice, and then somehow, shape, or form, Tennessee gets another, or one way, shape, or form, whether it's a 2-loss Alabama that gets in or a 1-loss Georgia that gets in, if they continue that Tennessee is going to have to beat either of those programs twice in the same year to win a national championship. That's fucked nuts. Up. Yeah, that's crazy to me.
I didn't see that scenario in my head. Then that would be the craziest. And if Tennessee can do that, but the college football players will maneuver somehow where they would have to see them in the championship. I guess it would be.
That's what I'm saying. You're going to have to beat them no matter how you cut the no matter how you cut the cake. If Tennessee wins, if Tennessee beats Georgia and then they go and beat Alabama again twice already for the SEC championship game,
they would see one.
They're going to have to see one of them. And if it's a 1-loss Georgia that gets in because it's a 2-loss Bama, and then you're going to have to turn around and beat Georgia twice in the same fucking year to win the national championship. That's crazy. That's the crazy one.
See, and that's where. Here's my only knock, and this is where, coming from the program I came to, was typically the 4 teams to me, when after 12 games, like it's a little like hairy, but I feel like you kind of know, like, all right, these are the 4 best teams, and usually it plays itself out. There are good games in the playoffs, and it's just kind of like, you know it. This is one of the first years, like competitively, like across the board of college football, I feel like you really have some real cases of teams. You would have had more of some teams in the Pac-12 kind of want to stay undefeated. To me, that would have been a good scenario, but obviously that's not. But like you said, I see Clemson wins out, brand, they get in. Like we could barely win the rest of these games. I can't see them not putting an undefeated ACC champion in. Whoever wins the Big Ten is gonna get in. Now this SEC, like this, we haven't seen this in years because Tennessee hasn't been good. No other team. Hasn't been a third team that's been like actually competitive. And I just can't see them taking a TCU over a 1-loss SEC powerhouse. I just can't see it. And that's going to suck.
Let me give you the nightmare scenario here, because we're almost like, for any basketball fans out there, Draymond Green called the finals the Warriors Invitational. Right now, this is the SEC Invitational, the way we're talking about the college football playoff right now. And it's fair because those 3 teams are that good. If we're just talking throw resumes, throw schedules, throw all of it out the window, neutral site, who wins, I think all 3 of us have those 3 at least in the top 5, right? If not 4.
Right.
Now, here's the nightmare scenario, though, which I actually think is not crazy. Let's say Bama does lose a second game in the SEC title game. Whoever they play, Bama gets a second loss. Let's say Tennessee beats Georgia. So you're looking at the end of the year, a 2-loss Bama, a 1-loss Georgia, and the clear no-brainer number 1 team in the country at that point is Tennessee. They earned their way in. Does 1-loss Georgia get in over undefeated Clemson, undefeated Michigan or Ohio State, undefeated TCU? At that point, I think you got to put the 4 undefeated teams in, right?
Yeah, so you're saying that then there's only one. I mean, yeah, and that's my point. Is there's one clear-cut team out of the SEC, which I'm completely cool with. And honestly, that's why I said, like, if even you can make the argument that even if if Oregon goes and beats SC, and then I think that would be one of those things where they have to, because I believe the Pac-12 is where it's not East-West or divisions. It's
right. It's just most. Yeah.
So they could end up having to beat that team twice again this year, whomever that is. So if they go and beat USC twice, and your only loss is basically an away game that was a neutral site game in Atlanta against Georgia, and you just came from that program, the first game you've coached there, and then you flip the switch and do what you did and run through the Pac-12 and then beat an SC team twice. Like, I think you can make the argument that that would be more deserving than like a 1-loss Georgia who didn't play in the conference championship.
I'm gonna keep it real. No team from the Pac-12 is getting the playoffs this year. There ain't no case. It's just they had their chance. I think UCLA had the best chance because Oregon took that L beginning of the season. To me, UCLA and USC had the 2 schedules to me that make the most sense. And now they both taking a loss. Nobody in the Pac-12 gets in because Oregon, no matter what they do, they're not going to be able to avenge getting, you know what I'm saying, punished like that beginning of the season. They just can't erase that mark this year. Now, when they're going to get in a great bowl game, whatever, but no Pac-12 team gets in. It's just how much hell is going to be raised if TCU just – I'm trying to see a scenario where TCU gets in. I can't see it because I see Clemson winning. I see Michigan, Ohio State winning the Big Ten. And somehow, some way, 1-loss, 2-loss, there's going to be a really good SEC team who loses. There's going to be a really good SEC team who wins.
Yeah.
And I can't see somebody saying that you believe TCU, you're betting money, TCU is going to beat either one of those teams.
Yeah. No, and I think if that does play out in the scenario I just described, because I think that's the most likely, is Bama rules themselves out with 2 losses, and you end up with, I guess it would be either Tennessee or Georgia sitting there with 1 loss, right? And they don't play in the conference title game. I think we could see a situation where undefeated TCU from week 11 through week 15, when they do the ranking show, they're holding down the 4th spot. But when we come to that final show, when we're unveiling who's playing and who's going to those games, there is no chance TCU would get in over a 1-loss, either Tennessee or Georgia. There just isn't. Unless TCU wins their final 5 games by 50, which
like they got to.
I think even an undefeated Clemson probably shouldn't get in over a 1-loss Michigan to Ohio State.
Wow.
That's a good conversation, Hack.
I'll die on that mountain, but they'll never do that. They'll never put 2 Big Ten teams and 2 SEC teams in the college football playoff. Right. But I bet you at the end of this year, you can make the argument, if you're watching the tape, if you watch the tape consistently over the year, those could be the 4. They could be the 4 best teams in college football.
Here's you're a purist. I'm a realist because I know the politics at play. I agree. I'm not saying that's a bad take. I'm really not. I'm not.
I know you're not. You could if you wanted to. But I said I die on that mountain.
Right. No, I like the take. I really think that's a fair argument. But the realist part of me is like, they would. I mean, it's kind of a blessing and a curse. Like, I mean, they're not going to turn their back on an undefeated Clemson. Like we had one off year last year, we didn't make it in.
You guys are.
I mean, that's a tough part with the 4 teams. To me, that's going to be the interesting part of these 12 teams. Is like, a lot of people don't get opportunities to
100%.
So people
are going to get exposed.
Yep. Oh, it's going to be bad.
Let the record show that Field of 12 was on the 12 team clearly with our name way before this was ever even officialized. So we are big proponents of the 12 team playoff. Can't wait for that to get underway. All right, that's enough rankings talk. Tune in next week to hear us do more of that, because we're going to have a whole month more of this, guys. It's only going to get crazier from here. Let's move to the quote unquote game of the century ? Tennessee, Georgia. I don't think that is the game of the century, but it's a damn good game. It's the number 1 team in the country against the number 3 team in the country. The Tennessee offense, the Georgia defense. I don't know that you're going to find a more entertaining football game in college football this season, or a game with more playoff implications to every single thing we just talked about. From a betting perspective, that's my side of things. Bet Rivers. Tennessee is over a touchdown underdogs in this game, 7.5 points. I am just baffled that they are that large of underdogs in this game. So let's start there. Hack, do you actually think that Georgia is a full touchdown better on paper than the number 1 team in the country, Tennessee?
It's going to be interesting. If Georgia can control the time of possession and control the clock, it's not crazy to me that could happen. I just don't know if they will be able to. And here's the other thing. You just posed this as the Georgia defense versus the Tennessee offense. But I'm going to take this from our boys down at Saturday Down South. Georgia has the number 2 offense in the country behind Tennessee in total offense. So you got the battle of the top 2 offenses in college football, which a lot of people don't understand. And like I said, it's 2 different flavors. It's the fast
they definitely manufacture it different.
It's different, but it's just as effective, right? And I think the one kind of plays into how Georgia plays as a complete football team, where they play great defense, very, very sound defense. And then they also play dominating, possess the ball offense, and have some explosive mismatch players like Brock Bowers that they try to get the ball creatively in space. And then, like I said, you have a Tennessee team who kind of takes shots defensively, has a great kind of front 7. They can create a good pass rush, and then are kind of risky at times. And it pays off, like high risk, high reward. But they know that they have a Ferrari on the other side of the football that can go with anybody. So, it's just really interesting. So I think it could play out. I don't think it's going to play out that way. I think it's going to be a very much Bama-esque type game, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We'll just see how Tennessee deals with, because it is between the hedges, correct? It's at Georgia.
Yep.
Yeah, it's in Athens.
Yeah, so we'll see how Tennessee deals with that. The last challenge they had was Pitt.
Didn't go so well, did it? I mean, they still came out. They came out unscathed.
They came out unscathed, but the last away challenge they had was fucking the Fighting Pitt Panthers. Greg Waddell's 7-point spreads. Either way, doesn't matter who shows up. Either way,
I'm telling you,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So here's why I think this is the biggest. They said the biggest game of the century. Is that what it was?
That's in the rundown for the show. Game of the century ? Is the question.
It definitely, like, going into the hype of a game. I don't know. I mean, people discount LSU. That LSU year was crazy. I feel like this has the same effect to me as like the LSU year, kind of when they played Bama, where Joe Burrow was like. To me, it's that same effect because it's kind of cool. No, honestly, this might be even better because LSU's had some runs. Tennessee hasn't been good for a while. Like LSU won. Like, when's the last time Tennessee's really been good? Like LSU won a natty with like Tyrann Mathieu and them. They had some couple runs. Like this, honestly, just because of the awe factor and just the narratives behind these programs. Like you got 2 blue bloods of college football, and Tennessee just hasn't been good. And now they're the number 1 team in the country. And that fan base, bro, they got one of the craziest fan. You know, like just like that stadium, bro. Neyland Stadium is crazy. Like going there, the atmosphere is amazing. And for their fan base to really rally behind them, like they obviously already beat Bama. Yeah, it definitely could be just like the hype going to the game and just the what's at stake, and the fact you're on the same side of the division. Like this really determines your destiny. Honestly, like, yeah, it's crazy to say, but just the hype behind it, yeah, it definitely could be one of the bigger games. I personally just want to see Tennessee win because their fan base they've been in a drought, bro. This is the Lord's opened the floodgates this year. Like it wasn't no gradual turning. They like won a decent bowl game last year. Now they're like the number 1 team in the country, and nobody besides Hendon Hooker probably thought that he would be doing what he's doing. I know I've known him, played at VT. I think he was always been a playmaker. But bro was up for the Heisman, which if he don't get the Heisman this year, they tripping. Bro has did everything. I think he needs a Heisman like right now in his hands. Unless Bryce Young does something crazy or CJ Stroud. But to me, he's been the best player in college football this year and has the best team. So yeah, I think it's definitely down for a showdown. I kind of see it like Hack does. I see this game being like a shootout. I think that's what people want to see too. I would hate for it to be a slow game. I want to see a sexy, fast, you know what I'm saying, got me on the edge of my seat, like just that type of game.
So if it is the slow game, if it's our dreaded nightmare, that obviously benefits Georgia, right? Is this a battle of who can force their play style more? And if it is that battle, like who do we think is more likely to enforce their will that way? Is it the Tennessee high-powered deep shots, or is it Georgia?
To me, like I wonder how Georgia's going to play them. Like I just feel like I think Georgia. I've seen Tennessee put together some drives, but a lot of Tennessee's, even like the Bama game, a lot of Tennessee's points are like huge chunks of offense. Like it's like daggers. Like they do a great
job of manufacturing it though. Like they create so much stress with alignment and
right.
just extending the splits. They create natural
they challenge
natural binds. But yeah,
right.
Correct. They create a lot of natural binds, and I think that's why you have so many guys running fucking smack free. And Heupel does a great job of dialing it up and calling things, and they just execute it. They don't do a lot, but they just do it fast and they execute it at a very high clip.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, to me, if you gotta put together drives, like I wonder if Georgia's gonna play conservative. Because I feel like I would just kind of, I don't know, like go cover 2, like play it safe, like see if Tennessee can run the ball, like kind of like that's how I would play going into the game. Like to see if Tennessee can run the ball, it's gonna be a long night. But like I would do everything I can to not let anything get over top. And obviously, I guess people have tried that, but I think that sometimes people go into these games like the macho mentality, like, hey, we're like, no, we got some 5-star players over here. We're gonna play man to man, and we're gonna impose our will. And I think that's cool. But like I just wouldn't do it this game. I would play conservative if I was Georgia and let them see if they can run the ball early on. And if they can't do that, I feel like you kind of got a chance. To me, that play either way could, like I think Georgia can take some shots. Not that they take a lot of shots. I think they can if they need to. But Georgia's gonna run the ball. Like, and so I just wonder how they. I just wonder. I wonder.
That's what I was gonna say. I think Tennessee can dictate the game more than Georgia can in terms of just their offense. Now they need to figure out ways how to get the ball in their offense's hands as much as possible, because they are so fast paced and because they do score so fast or punt so fast, right? They haven't punted the ball much this year, but that's kind of the backfire of going fast. I think their defense needs to force Georgia into a game that I don't think they want to do. And I think it's going to be very similar to what they did against Alabama, where they take the run away. I don't know if Georgia has a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs back there that can still get his. But I do think that the overall scheme at Georgia is going to be able to manufacture some bigger runs that are going to keep them going. But if you can limit that and make it a Stetson Bennett versus Hendon Hooker game, like they did kind of a Bryce Young versus Hendon Hooker game, I think Tennessee likes their chances at that. And that's not a knock on Stetson at all. And it wasn't a knock at Bryce Young either, because Bryce Young played a phenomenal game and they still lost. I think that's just kind of how Tennessee envisions games, and they're all right going to war like that. They'll take a lump or they'll win it. Kind of how they did against Bama. So I think that's how they're going to approach it.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say they're wrong for that approach, right? If you got Hendon Hooker the way he's playing right now, like shit, I don't care who's on the opposite side. Let's make you beat him.
Force them to be something they're not. And I think Georgia's not a team that wants to go out there and chuck it around 60 times a game. So force them to be something they're not, and let's see how it matches up against us.
Right. All right. There's another big one in the SEC. The Crimson Tide are not out of this yet. They're currently the number 6 team in the country. Alabama LSU, one of the most storied rivalries in the sport. Weird things can happen in Death Valley. Hack, you made the joke earlier in the show. We can't believe LSU is 10th in the country. Do you think LSU stands a chance?
I'll tell you why, and I stand on this mountain, and I'm going to give all the credit to my other podcast mate, Joshua Perry. This was a straight up save Alabama's season game. If they come out and they beat this LSU team, now you can make the argument that Bama just beat a top 10 LSU team at LSU. Coming off this, no matter what happens, it's going to now create a little bit more friction heading into this, where you can start making the argument that Bama is a top 4 team again. That's kind of my conspiracy theory that Joshua Perry laid out, and I'm on board with it a little bit, because I don't think that this is a top 10 LSU team. And to your point, I think after you got past 8, they were kind of like, fuck it. Who's got the coolest shit? Who's got the best jerseys? Who's got the, like, I think they kind of just started doing that. And that's why I think there was a little bit more of a motivation to get LSU up there, is to save some Alabama face here if they go in and do what Alabama should do against this team.
So given all that, do you expect this to be a game at all, or do you expect this to be a Bama statement, run them out the gym?
No, I think it'll be a game, but I don't think it's going to be. I think it's got the potential to be one of those games where it might be back and forth for 2 quarters, 2.5, 3 quarters, maybe, and then you start seeing Bama outlast them in the 4th.
Okay, Darien, what do you think?
I was looking at the rankings, kind of going past. Like, they lost to Florida State early. They obviously got beat really bad by Tennessee. And it's like, they did just beat Ole Miss. UCLA.
But Ole Miss doesn't have a quarterback, man. Like, Ole Miss has been running that side of the thing, and nothing against Jackson Dart, but Lane Kiffin has done a really good job of manufacturing offense through that kid.
Yeah. And the only team you really could put above them, like, I'm looking at everything, like, because Kansas State just lost. Like, at least they just came off a big win. Utah's, Penn State, Illinois just can't do that. UNC, people need to stop sleeping on UNC. Drake May is a baller. Let's just go and put that out there.
Illinois is a 1-loss team.
Yeah, but it's U of
Illinois is a 1-loss team.
Yeah, but it's U of I. I mean, I don't dislike. The only team I would have possibly put over them would be UCLA, because they've had a good year. But yeah, I mean, I don't like it. Like I said, let's just be real on this pod. Look, this is for, we need ratings, we need money. I like a top 10 game. Let's hype it up as much as possible. Let's see if LSU can live up to the hype, because they have it for sure since Joe Burrow. I mean, I like it. Like, I like it, because to me, it only builds into the narrative of, like, I want to see this epic, ballsy decision by this committee when you have an Alabama that will be 12-1 if they win the SEC championship, a 1-loss whoever else, and a 1-loss whoever else. I want to see them make that decision. Like, and I'm glad I'm done playing, because my success no longer plays into that. But I want to see them make that decision, and I want to see them stand on it. Who are the best 4 teams? And then I want to see that happen. So, look, this plays into that narrative. So, look, LSU number 10, let's do it. Go get a big W down in Death Valley, which I think I just can't see them hanging on. Like, they just been very sporadic. Obviously, be Ole Miss, but I can't see them hanging on for 4 quarters of Bama. I feel like it'll be a pretty, like, so I feel like it'd be a pretty defining win, like 2 or 3 scores for sure.
So I'm obligated to be the guy on the show who plays devil's advocate when we all seem to come to a consensus here. So I'm going to do that. I've pushed all year that this Alabama team might not be Alabama-y enough for me, right? Like, and yeah, I think it's fair at this point to say they're not. But what was it that Texas A&M and Texas were able to do? And those were 2 totally different games, 2 teams that play totally different brands of football. Right, but did we learn something from seeing Alabama come so close to the edge of losing to one of those 2 teams that could apply to LSU in a formula that could allow LSU to win this game? Hack, what do you think?
They have Bryce Young.
Right. Look, right. That's kind of that's my answer. They got he back.
They have Bryce Young, and they have a defense that doesn't. Their defense, it's not a traditional Alabama defense. They have some great players, but they're not playing together as well as they have. The back half, especially, has been really,
especially the back.
Yeah, it's been really porous. Got some really good fucking words coming out tonight.
To be fair, while you're searching for the right words, to be fair, they had Bryce Young against Texas.
No, and they won the game. They don't have 9 back there.
I agree. To me, that's been
So that to narrative, me, like heading into this, like having him is what Devonta Smith and Calvin Ridley and all the quarterback kind of like Jalen Hurts, even Tua to a degree, was kind of like the Robin to every other Batman. Even though they were very talented themselves, they still had a lot of this. Like, this is Bryce Young's football team, and they're going to go as far as Bryce Young takes them. He has Jahmyr Gibbs who helps, but everything runs through 9. So to me, like if I'm sitting here looking at this game, if it's close for whatever reason, I'm taking number 9. That's it.
Yeah. I think if I'm a coach, if I'm the head coach down at LSU, here's what I think you give the psyche of this game. I think you definitely have some. I don't know if it's a facade or not, because obviously Alabama's kind of went through some stuff this year with like losing Bryce, kind of figuring that situation out, and obviously losing games early on, which is not typical of them. But I don't feel like LSU should be afraid, because you definitely see Alabama like definitely show weaknesses. Whether with Bryce Young, without Bryce Young, they don't look unbeatable. Like they got him beat. And honestly, the Texas game, if Quinn Ewers don't get hurt, like Bryce Young he's good, but if Quinn Ewers don't get hurt, I would love to see what happens, because they might have said that
as well.
They might be 6-2 sitting right here right now and out of the top 15.
Yeah.
They might have been fighting for that. They might have been at 10 right now. It might have been the 10 ranked game and 11th ranked game. That could have been the story of this LSU Bama game. So I think LSU definitely the psyche of this game, and they're playing at home. I think Bama's a better team, but I just feel like LSU could come out. They got to come out early and establish something. Like, I don't really know what they're going to establish, but whatever they do, I feel like if they can make it kind of this game where the belief can be there, where either it's close or they're winning the game, I feel like it wouldn't be crazy to see like Bama fall. I don't know. Like, I mean, who's to say? I didn't think they were going to fall against Texas, and Texas was unranked at the time, right? I'm pretty sure they were unranked. Arkansas, well, it was a ranked game. That was they kind of struggled right there in the first half and overcame. And then it lost to Tennessee with Bryce Young. And so they're definitely not unbeatable. They're not the big bad Bama, but they still are Bama. So that's kind of where I land on that. I see them winning this game, but LSU should definitely go into the game believing they can win.
Yeah, they're not big bad Bama. It kind of reminds me of when you're a little kid growing up and you keep playing basketball one-on-one in the driveway with your dad, and you're just like, can't get him. All of a sudden, one day, 10 years later, you're in a tight game, right? You hit him with that little side to side, and all of a sudden, you got a 2-point lead for the first time. You're looking like that's still dad, right? Like, I'm just saying, like we've seen a lot of Bama on the ropes with one drive left to go in the game, and I think they're a little bit fortunate to be where they're at right now. Death Valley at night against a quote unquote top 10 team in a rivalry game with some emotions on the line. It's got my attention. That's all I'm saying. And final question to you, Hack, and then we can move on to Darian's Clemson team here. From a conversation you and I had a couple weeks back, you're the Detroit Lions, who are going to have the number 1 pick in the draft. Tomorrow, you've got a game. You starting Aiden O'Connell or are you starting Bryce Young?
Yeah, I'm still starting Aiden O'Connell.
Okay.
I told you I'd die on that mountain.
I was just checking because you threw a lot of compliments Bryce's way there, and I didn't know if that had shifted.
I love Bryce Young. I love CJ Stroud. I don't think you can go wrong with either of those guys.
Okay. Good to know. All right, let's go to Clemson. By the way, again, we do need to do the quick check-in. If you listen to us on the Sirius XM app, we see you. We appreciate you. You can watch us on the video version on the Field of 12 YouTube channel. Please click subscribe while you are over there. We are brought to you by Bet Rivers. Clemson goes to Notre Dame this week. They hold the 4th spot in the playoffs. As we mentioned, all they've got to do is win and they're in. We all agree on that. Easier said than done. Clemson has been in some dogfights as of late. They survived the Syracuse game. Darien, I don't know that I was ever on a show with you after to talk about the quarterback, quote unquote, controversy that seems to have resolved itself now. But now you've got a big game on the road against a Notre Dame team that, quite frankly, I don't know what to believe of this team. They've been one of the more up and down teams. Whenever you think you know what they're going to do, they do the opposite. So let's just lead it up to this. Do you think this is Clemson's toughest test that they've faced yet this season?
I wouldn't say toughest test. Most unpredictable test, yes. Because like you said, I don't really know what you're going to get out of them. You look at their season, I mean, they like UNC is not a fluke. UNC is 7-1 right now. No, they easily could be an undefeated ACC team if they didn't lose to Notre Dame like week 4. But also Notre Dame's lost. They lost to Marshall, lost to Ohio State. They've lost to Stanford, Stanford's a 3-5 football team. And then they've won. So they beat UNC, who's literally could be undefeated. And if Drake May was coming back after the season, he would probably be in a Heisman race, be a top 4 candidate if he runs this season back. And that kind of plays into the narrative. And they beat a team. They pretty definitively beat a Syracuse team who went into the Valley and almost won that game. So it's like, I don't know if they're going to be the mighty Notre Dame, the mighty Irish, or they're going to be literally the worst team to show up and get boat raced. I don't know. So I will say, I don't think it's the toughest opponent. I think it's the most unpredictable opponent Clemson's had. They're going to Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman, like I said, is still on the ropes. Obviously, it's his first year, but just, man, that nobody would have predicted them to be like as bad as they were early in the season. And if you look at their schedule, I'm predicting they go 7-5, which is crazy at Notre Dame. I say they lose this game and they win the next 2, and they lose to USC. Personally, I think they lose to Southern Cal. But if I'm Marcus Freeman, the only narrative I can spin is that we just beat a Syracuse team that almost went to the Valley and won that game and forced them to make a quarterback change, and they're coming here to our house. That's the only ammunition I got to get to my guys. And you can probably he can probably say the same thing about Clemson. Like, hey, this team has gotten through a lot of games. Barely got to Wake Forest. Barely got to the Syracuse game. Thank God. I was at that game, and I was sitting up there in the stands, and I'm just crossing my fingers, bro. I'm like, please don't let this be the game. Don't let Syracuse come in. Don't let this be the game. It reminds me of 2018 with Chase Bryce. Don't let this be the game, bro. So I don't know. Like, I think Notre Dame's probably one of the biggest question marks in college football because they show the marks of pride of like what we know to be true about Notre Dame, where they're like a good program. They also just lose to Marshall. It's like what the hell are we doing here? Yeah. I don't know. So we'll see. I think it's gonna be a great game. I think they have a great atmosphere. I think a lot of things can play into it. But I see Clemson. Here's my prediction. All right, let's talk about this on Field of 12. Let's talk about the first time DJ played at Notre Dame and all that's transpired to this game. Because if you would have told me in 2020 COVID year, after DJ just put up I think he broke the passing record, if I'm not mistaken. He had the most yards for any away passer in Notre Dame history. 421 yards. Like, that game was crazy. That he would, becoming a Heisman contender, tank, come back the week before he plays this game, get benched, and then get named back the starter. And now he's in Notre Dame. And so I just think that's a crazy story for him personally. What's all transpired. So I would love to see him go be that guy again. After coming off this like kind of controversial little moment of getting benched for K to come in and give us a spark. I love to see him go back to Notre Dame and have a full circle moment and just go crazy. That's what I want to see. Will we see that? We'll see. I don't know. But that's what I want to see.
You think we're going to see that, Hack?
No. I think Notre Dame. Well, no. I think for him, yeah. I think he'll play fine. I think the bigger thing that I'm watching is Notre Dame's going to have to figure out a way how to throw the football because that's the weakest part of this Clemson team. Right. If they're going to try to go at this front seven, I think that's a really tough task, especially if they can just pin their ears back and say, hey, they got to establish the run game for anything to happen. We're going to pin our ears back and play aggressive as shit and beat the hell out of their offensive line and make some plays in the backfield, which they can do. I think that's good. I think that's a tough task for Notre Dame. I'll say this. I think Clemson has a really unpredictable opponent this week, but I think it's more predictable when you dive into that stuff like I just did. I think a more unpredictable opponent is the team they're playing next week in Louisville. And I also think that the South Carolina game at the end of the year is going to be no cakewalk. So I'm for Clemson, I'm more focused on those two games, 2 of the last 3, than this one. I think this one, the matchups bode well for the Clemson Tigers. And I would love to see that as well, D. Like, I'd love to see DJ go up there and everything kind of come full circle and him light it up and get some confidence going into this because he's going to need to play well. Like I said, at least 2 of the last 3 games here.
During the stretch, I think he's definitely got to find his groove because you look at all the top teams. This is one of the things I was explaining to somebody with Clemson in like quarterback situation. Every top team is playing the way they are because of their quarterback. Tennessee, if Hendon Hooker is not good, Tennessee's not good. If CJ Stroud's not good, they're not good. Michigan's the only question mark because Michigan's got Blake Corum. But everybody else, Georgia, I think Stetson Bennett is different. It's different with style of play. If he has the quarterback, he's still what makes Georgia who they are. Like he's crafty. He makes plays. And so and then you look at TCU with Dunnigan, you look at Bryce Young, Alabama. So if Clemson, because I would hate to see it just get in the playoffs and get smacked. You know what I'm saying? Like if we're going to be a true contender, hey, I see your face. If we're going to be a true contender, DJ's got to play well. He really does. And so I want to see him kind of have I want to see him finish strong.
Hack, we got to defend the face now. I mean,
no. It just goes back to what I said. I think the 4 best teams could be in 2 conferences. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. So on that note then, Hack, because that leads into the question I was going to spin back at you. Is Clemson the most vulnerable of the teams that are in the top 4 right now? Because even if we're saying there's a level between maybe how good they are as a football team complete on both sides of the ball and Georgia and Tennessee and Ohio State, I think we've seen those teams be extremely vulnerable this season. We saw Georgia almost lose to Missouri. We saw them in a battle with Kent State, as crazy as that is. And Tennessee, to your point, the Pitt game, like that was almost a loss. Clemson survived the Syracuse game. And, this is football. Like every team's going to have tests.
Wake Forest game.
Survive the Wake Forest. Are they the most vulnerable of the top 4 now for the remainder of the season? Because their schedule has sort of opened up. If they get through this game, I know you're worried about Louisville, but they got through the biggest test in that conference.
Yeah, right. I mean, like I said, we'll see. I just, again, this is not Clemson of old in terms of top to bottom what they've had. It's just not. They got some good players. I think Will Shipley is a game breaker. Like I said, very rare to not really know a receiver in that room on a national level. There's not one. It's just they don't separate the way that they traditionally do. You see DJ's had to make a lot of tough foot throws all year. I mean, tight window throws. The shit I talk about why I love Aiden O'Connell so much, DJ's had to do it consistently. And you see a guy who's got all this talent and who was used to throwing to guys who were wide the fuck open when he first started playing, and now he doesn't have it. And he struggles. It's just tough. It's a tough thing to do. And that's the adjustment that you have to make at our position when you go to the next level. And that's why I go back to the argument that you just brought up again previously from a few weeks ago about why I'd start Aiden O'Connell over the other guys. But anyway, bringing it back, I I just don't see it with the Clemson team. I've watched enough of them because, again, I got a brother that played baseball there. Hey, I got a little, I gotta support some purple and orange every once in a while. I got some of the shit up in my closet. I wear it every once in a while around my house.
Hey, it's good. It's good to hear you say that, bro. It's good
Yeah,
for my heart.
so I sit there and I watch it. And I pay attention. But I just, again, like I said, I don't see it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, vulnerable as far as the schedule. No, vulnerable as the talent or like how good we are. Maybe. I think it's a maybe. But as far as the schedule, I feel like Clemson's got one of the better schedules. And like I said, people sleep on like I said, 3 top 25 games. However you shake that up, these are teams that are ranked, and a lot of those teams are still ranked right now. Wake Forest is ranked, NC State's ranked, and Syracuse is still ranked. So
is NC State still ranked?
I'm pretty sure they're still ranked, my brother. Yep, 21. Literally all 3 in the pack. 20, 21, 22.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so and there's all those are quality wins. And so
they're
ranked higher than them, right? All 3 of them?
Wait. What'd you say? I really missed it. What'd you say?
Oh man. All right. Anyway, I'm not gonna go there.
I didn't hear what he said.
I said Tulane's, I think, ranked higher than all 3 of those teams now.
They just throwing Tulane a bone, bro. They're 7-1. Tulane should have been ranked 10th, huh? Over LSU.
Yeah, I'm gonna say none of these teams meet the LSU bar. So what are we even doing talking about ranked, right? That's to me, either you're above LSU or you're below LSU. You don't matter if you're below LSU at this point.
Right. Let's just leave it at that. They're below. Everybody's below LSU, so it's a quality win.
There it is, the LSU bar. All right. Well, apparently this is a prove it game for your Clemson Tigers, just to Christian Hackenberg, Darien. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. Maybe we can revisit if Clemson stomps Notre Dame. Maybe the narrative shifts next week when we're all back here on the show. We'll see.
I'll say this: as much as TCU needs to dominate, I feel like Clemson needs to dominate as well. Like we haven't. That's my only knock on this year's team. Is like as much talent as we do have, and as well as DJ has played, we have yet to like really have a defining. Because even when it was Ohio State, Penn State, well, that was a close game. They still won. I don't know. I feel like we didn't have like a 2 or 3 score. Like we should have like really beat somebody like bad. That's good.
Michigan ran for 418 yards on a really solid Penn State team. Who I think if you played Penn State and Clemson at a neutral site, it'd be a really good football game. And I think Penn State would possibly win the football game.
Heck, let me ask you this. I'm going rogue because we only have 2 minutes till pick, so we're not even. Sorry, TCU, you didn't make our radar this week. We didn't get to you. Heck, I'm asking you this though. You've seen your team go toe to toe with Michigan and Ohio State. Who's the better football team?
Who's the better football team?
Who's the better football team?
Between Michigan and Ohio State.
Ohio State. Michigan came out and had a fluke game. And like I said, I made this statement before. I don't think Penn State got off the bus. And it's not, they got off the bus and got their ass whooped, but I don't think that they put their best product on the field, and Michigan took full advantage of it and played really well. You don't run for 418 yards every Saturday, but the fact that they did it against Penn State was very, very impressive when they did it.
Right.
But to me, I'm sitting there watching an Ohio State team that has so much gas on offense. It's not even funny. They don't even have Jackson Smith and Jigba back in the fold yet. When you add that to the thing with Marvin Harrison Jr. and then the running game, it's not dominant, but it's effective and it pops. They have explosive playmaking ability there, and then you have CJ. And the biggest thing is the defense. Ohio State's defense is a top 10 ranked defense in the country, something they didn't have last year. They're taking the ball away. They've had 10 takeaways in the last 2 games. Scoring on some of those takeaways. So it's when you can help that offense like that, they're just playing really complete football.
Interesting. Okay. So did Penn State throw their best shot against Ohio State then, in your opinion? Ohio State was just too good.
They had everything. I think they had everything. They had everything going for them. It was a home game. They had all the momentum and that you're going to get me on another high horse that you don't want to get me on about my alma mater. But Ohio State can play four full quarters, and whether it happens early, whether it happens late, they can score in a fucking hurry. And you saw that in that game.
Okay, leave me with this, and then we'll do our picks. We'll welcome producer Dagan back onto the show. I want this answer from both of you, though, and you cannot give me any additional words at all. I just want 4 names of 4 teams Who are the 4 best teams in the country? Throw who should be in the playoff, throw the conferences, throw the schedules, all of it out the window. Who are the best 4 teams in the country, 1 through 4? Darien go first, then Hack go second.
Tennessee.
I'll agree with that.
1 for 1.
Ohio State.
I'll also agree with that.
2 for 2. Look at us.
Georgia.
3 for 3. Now this is where it gets fun. This is where it gets fun, Darien. What do you got?
And I could have this is actually right in order, but I could have flip flopped the last 2. Just I feel they're interchangeable to me. 2 and 3.
You gonna go with your heart, bud, or you gonna go with your head?
Oh, you can't do this. It's just too early for me to catch.
Oh, boo!
I can't do this. I'm just going. Clemson is a top 4 team in the country.
You're a sucker, man. You go for your heart. You go with your heart.
Well, it's all right because Hack has Penn State at 4, right?
Right. Look,
there we go. There we go.
Wait, Hack. You didn't say yours. Who you got?
No, I agree with you up until Clemson. I think it should have been Michigan, and I think you could make the argument that Alabama and TCU could be above Clemson even at this point in time.
But today, 4th best team in the country is Michigan. That's your answer, Hack?
Today, yes, the 4th best team in the country is Michigan.
Got it. All right, I might make the 2 of you go do that exercise again before the end of the season. We'll see. Producer Dagan, go ahead and just lump me in with these 2 so I can keep forcing them through this. Speaking of Producer Dagan, he's going to join the show now. We are going to do our game picks for the week. And I don't know where the Phillies game is at right now, but I hope Producer Dagan's in a good mood. Dagan, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm here. It's still 2-1, but it's not looking great. I'll just say that.
Okay. Hey, it's not over.
It's not over. It's not over. Altuve's on first, top of the 8th inning. So we'll see how it goes.
And Pena's up.
Oh, boy.
Oh!
Yeah, we might get.
Can we please just?
Here we go. We're doing our game picks. Here's
You're not gonna like it.
We're going Darien. We're going Hack. We're going myself. We're going Dagan in that order. 12 games. Give me the winner of the game. Game number 1, Oregon State at Washington. Who you got, Darien?
I like UW.
And then it's me, right? I also have UW. Yep, I also have Washington.
I'm with it. 3 for 3, Washington. Dagan?
I do not have Washington. Give me Oregon State. My picks are going to be quick today. Let me tell you, boys. I got a game to watch. So, Oregon State.
Keep it moving. Florida at Texas A&M. Darien?
Go Gators.
Wow. I got TAMU sneaking one out here. I got Texas A&M sneaking one out here.
They need to.
Home.
Lord knows. They need
I know.
to.
I got them doing one at home here.
I'm with D Rench here. I'm fading Jimbo until further notice. Dagan?
Yeah, you're not catching me picking Texas A&M anytime soon. Give me Florida.
Baylor at Oklahoma. D Rench?
I like Oklahoma getting a big one. Come on, Coach V.
Ooh.
Come on, Brent Venables.
Wow.
I got Baylor.
You shut that down real quick. I'll go Oklahoma as well. I think this could be blowout maybe. I've got my eye on it. Dagan?
Give me Baylor. I don't really know why. I don't know. I can't trust Oklahoma right now. So,
all right.
Give me Baylor.
UCF at Memphis. Darien?
Oh, you're not going to order. I'm going UCF.
Yeah, I'm rocking with the Knights. They've been good to me.
UCF? Dagan?
4 for 4. UCF.
It's a clean sweep. Michigan State at Illinois. 1 loss, Illinois, as Hack called them earlier in the show.
Right.
Darien?
U of I.
Yeah, Illinois, this Michigan State team, man. Greg?
So listen, get ready. Hold on to your seats,
oh my
folks.
God,
hold on to your seats. Listen,
seat belting in, double seat belt.
Listen to me, Hack. Listen, this team is going to miss 8 players who are suspended from this game, suspended from the program in its entirety right now for essentially quote unquote
from civilian life,
quote unquote assaulting a player in a tunnel. Who's to say? I've seen the video. Who's to say? I don't know. We'll let the investigation play out. Here's the thing. Illinois, I'm with Darien on this side of Illinois. It's quote unquote U of I. Are they really only losing one game this year? Are we really doing that? They're going to slip up somewhere.
They're gonna lay an egg. I agree.
They're gonna lay an egg somewhere, and it might not be this week, but I actually
it ain't this week.
I was impressed that Michigan State's skill guys were able to take a lead on Michigan in that game. And I don't know how that rolls over, but the skill guys are not suspended. They're still there. And as long as Jaden Reed and Keon Coleman can go catch some jump balls, give me the Spartans in an upset. Dagan.
Greg, I'm glad you did all that right there just to convince yourself why Michigan State's going to win this game because they're just not going to win. Give me Illinois.
Dagan, you surpassed. It must be a commercial break. You surpassed your one-word answer.
It is. Let's just say there's two. Well, you know this. You're watching the game.
I hear some pep in Dagan's step right now. I like it. Let's move on. Yeah. Syracuse at Pittsburgh. Darien.
I like Syracuse.
I'm trying to look here and see. No, I took Pitt. I took Pitt in a sneaky one at Pitt. Come on, man. I haven't been impressed with the Syracuse team all year. I think they got a good running back. Other than that, haven't been really impressed. I think their defense plays tough and gritty, but I think Narduzzi's going to match that. I like Pitt in a sneaky one.
Yeah, I'm going Pitt, but I think it's solely because I sent the wrong team name. I want Q's in this game, but I'll go Pitt.
You can change it if you want, Greg. You can change it.
Oh, then I'm going Q's. I'm going Q's. I'm out on Narduzzi. I'm going Q's. Dang it.
Again, you're wrong, but that's okay. You can change it. I said this last week about Syracuse. They struggle to stop the run. Again, the only thing Pitt can do right now is run the ball. So give me Pitt.
Oklahoma State at Kansas. No Spencer Sanders is the rumor in this game. Darien.
I like Oklahoma State.
Yeah, no Spencer Sanders, no problem. I like Oklahoma State as well.
Whoa. I think Oklahoma State is as dead can be. 48-0 last week. I'll take anybody with a pulse. Give me Kansas.
Oklahoma State's not dead. Give me the Cowboys. Kansas, on the other hand, their magic's run out a little bit. They're kind of looking like the Phillies, I'm not going to lie. Started off strong, kind of sputtering off here at the end. So
I said it about that.
Is there something I don't know about losing 48-0 to a team that rallies the troops, guys?
Let's go do something different. You see what Oregon did.
Lose your starting quarterback after getting ran out the building like that. We're all on the Cowboys. All right, okay. Let's go ACC. Couple of them here. Wake Forest at NC State. Darien.
I like Sam Hartman rallying back. They've had some bad weeks recently too. I like Wake Forest.
Wake. Dagan.
Another sweep. Give me Wake.
I like sweeps. Clemson at Notre Dame.
Dagan, you're going to be pissed.
Yeah, I know.
Clemson.
I got Clemson as well.
I got Clemson. You going to do it, Dagan?
Well, you know how I always picking these spots, boys. Picking my heart, right? Well, I kind of used up all my heart pick when I picked the Phillies last week. So give me Clemson.
Wow. I'm impressed. I never saw that coming, to be honest with you.
No,
all right.
Sometimes you got to pick with your head. This was a pick with
I thought it was going to be touchdown Jesus all day.
That was
You're a man of integrity. I respect it. To the three best games of the week, Texas at Kansas State first. Darien.
I like Texas.
Hook 'em.
Wow, double hook 'em. I'm going K-State here. I like what I've seen from Howard. I don't know who's playing quarterback, but I like K-State as home dogs in this spot. Dagan.
Don't matter if Martinez is back there. Howard, doesn't matter. Give me the Wildcats.
I like it. 2-2 there. All right. Bama at LSU. Does anybody see the upset coming here? Darien.
I like Bama.
I'm going LSU. This ain't Bama. This ain't your dad from 10 years ago.
Do you know? Remember the last time you went off on some crazy ass shit and bet you started going with all these gut feelings and all this and that the last time you did this, Greg? Do you remember how that went for you?
Dagan, can we get the season-long records in here? Do we have those handy?
We don't. And I ain't going back to look for them right now. I'll tell you.
All right. Well, then on that note, I am 52-11 this year, Hack. So.
I can tell you for a fact it ain't that.
No comment. Dagan, what do you got?
I've said this before. I'm going to stick with it, and you guys can call me crazy as much as you want. I've watched Brian Kelly be the coach of Notre Dame for however long he was there. He does not win big games. Give me Alabama.
Wow.
Darren, you played in a couple of those big games against Brian Kelly. You know how it goes.
That's a good point.
They beat us in 2020.
That's the only one he's won since he's been there. So give me Alabama. Right. I don't care if it's at night in LSU. I don't care. Give me Alabama.
It only takes one this week, Dagan. That's all I care about. All right, the big game, the game of the century, Tennessee at Georgia. Darien.
Hendon Hooker for Heisman. Give me Tennessee.
Wow.
I have Tennessee as well because you can't bet against the people's champ.
Wow. I'm going Tennessee, and now I feel terrible that we're all on Tennessee, but I think it's their year. When you think of college football this year, you think of Tennessee right now. And I think
it's very LSU-like.
Yeah, LSU-like that's a great comparison. It's a great comparison.
Dagan.
I said this earlier, Hack. You got me. You picked the right game. I hate that we're all picking Tennessee.
I
hate that we're all picking Tennessee. But I've been saying all year, Hooker's the guy, man. If I'm so glad he plays for a team that I can actually root for without having to hate. So, give me the Vols.
A clean sweep for the Vols. Wow. You heard it here first, folks. That is impressive stuff. I'm shocked. I don't feel good about that now, but I hope it happens because I love watching this Tennessee football team. Gentlemen, producer Dagan, thank you for jumping on with us. Thank you, everybody who has made it the full 71 minutes of this show. We hope you have a fantastic Friday and a fantastic Saturday. Join us back here for the Saturday night edition of the Field of 12 After Dark.